What's going on, everybody? Today's video, we're going to be talking about an Xbox One that doesn't boot up. Now, this one seems like it might have a power issue, but what I think is actually happening is the hard drive itself is dead. So when it tries to boot up, nothing happens it turns on, but basically nothing will happen on the screen and it'll end up powering down. Now, there's times you can have like a power on, power off issue, and it's actually something with the board to where maybe there's a little capacitor or something like that that actually went bad. But in this case, there's a ticking. Like you hear a couple ticks when you turn it on, and then it powers back down, which either makes me think that the fan is not spinning, but the fan seems to spin pretty easily by hand, so I don't think there's anything wrong with the actual fan. If the fan doesn't spin, sometimes if it gets like resistance, it's hard to spin. That might turn it off because it doesn't pass the little safety check or whatever. But I'm pretty sure that this hard drive is dead, and I just want to show you what I do for this when I replace the hard drive, the steps I go through to try to make sure that the installation of the new OS or the new firmware actually takes. Because a lot of times when people try to replace these hard drives, they run into issues with actually updating the console itself, because the Xbox is pretty peculiar, as you either have to install the exact same firmware version that's on it right now, or you have to install a higher one. So what ends up happening is normally, for whatever reason, it doesn't take, and then you go into a whole issue of trying to get it to take, and you keep just getting E101 or E106 errors, which is basically just saying that there's something wrong with the firmware. So I want to show you what I do to kind of avoid all that, and usually I would say with about 99% success rate, get it to take on the first go. So with that being said, let's go ahead and try to turn it on and see what we get. So now it's trying to boot up. You see the fan, it started spinning, so there's no issue with the fan. I just want to touch the hard drive. I want to feel if I can feel it ticking. So you can see we're not getting anything out on the screen. It's still trying to start up. It's doing like a little tick, like you can feel it like hiccuping. I don't actually feel it in this though. It almost feels like the fan itself is like slowly just like getting a quick stutter, and then it starts back up. But what I think is happening is it's looking for the firmware and it's just not finding anything. So it keeps trying to enter the boot process is what I'm thinking is happening with this one. It'll eventually power itself back down. If it can't find anything to boot with, there you go. See, now it just turned off. So when it does this, like it stayed on for what I would say maybe about 30 seconds or so, maybe a minute. Usually that's not going to be a power issue. Normally a power on off issue usually happens within seconds. You'll get it to power on. It'll maybe do something for like 2 to 3 seconds, and then it'll go beep, 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 and turn back off. That lets you know that you have an issue on the actual board 9 times out of 10. Or you'll just have a no power failure where nothing will happen. And that can either be the power supply went bad, or it could be, again, something on the board that's causing it just not to have any power. A lot of times it's I believe they're called MOSFET chips that go bad. But saying all that to say this, I do think it's a hardware issue. We're going to try to put this into, we're actually going to try to put this into safe mode, see if we can get it to display on the screen in safe mode or troubleshooting mode. Let's see if we can get that to happen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this without the thing put together. So yeah, I don't really think I'm going to be able to do that without it, because I'm not going to have the sync button over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take out the hard drive, and I'm going to try to clean this one, and I'm just going to make sure that it's actually functional. If it's bad, we'll throw another 500 gig hard drive in here. If it's a good hard drive, we'll just clean it, restore it back to being brand new out of the box, reinitialize it, and then we'll go through the there's a script, there's an Xbox One hard drive script that pretty much creates all the partitions needed on the hard drive, so it looks just like a hard drive for the Xbox One, except for it doesn't have the actual firmware on it, and we'll load that up from a USB stick. So let's go ahead, we're gonna get this hard drive out, and then we'll hop over to the computer. All right, so in order to do this, you're gonna need one of these, which is basically like an external hard drive enclosure. I have one right here. It's a little USB-C. You basically just stick your hard drive in it like this. And that way you can plug it into your computer and you can access the files on the hard drive itself. Or in this case, we're actually going to go ahead and just clean it because there's nothing on there we actually want. Let's see if anything even comes up. That's a good indicator of whether or not the drive is working, because a lot of times you'll have a bunch of folders pop up. But I'm not seeing anything pop up. So now we'll go into, oh, there it is. So we have our temp content, our user content, we have all the drives. So there's usually going to be 5 partitions on an Xbox One hard drive. And like we see here, you have your temp content, your user content, your system support, system update. They're all going to start flying over. So the hard drive is working. The hard drive is actually being read, which is a good thing. But we actually don't want any of this stuff. Because in our case, I don't care about any of this content. I want to just flat out erase it. So we're going to go ahead and run command prompt, but we're going to do it as an administrator. You have to do this in order for the Xbox One script to run correctly. First thing we want to do is we want to go into disk part. So disk part. All right, we got that. We want to list disk. All right, and you'll see that our disk 2 is going to be the Xbox One hard drive because it's 500 gigs. It's not the same as any other hard drive I have on this computer, which makes it easy to pretty much point out. So you can see they really didn't have much left. There was only 779 megabits left. We will select disk 2. We will do clean. And now this will basically take everything off the disk and resort it back to a hard drive you just bought from the store that's not even initialized yet. We want it to be just completely fresh. Okay, so it succeeded in cleaning the disk. We'll do exit. All right, now we will do a change directory to user profile. That we're there, and then we want to do a change directory to desktop, which basically this is going to point right to where we have the program at. Xbox One, what is this thing called? Xbox One hard drive dash master dash 9 slash Xbox One hard drive dash master slash win. Okay, so now we're in there. We're in the file path, I guess. And what you want to do is, this is basically the text for how to use this script. This script is on gbatemp.net. I'll put the link in the description. So basically you can follow along with this, but we want to go all the way down to basically the start of it, because we just need, where are you? We just need the little bat file, basically. Where are you? Well, it's not a file, but it's basically like the little thing. I never remember it off the top of my head. And there it is. So basically, if you start right here where it says example script usage and outage and output, it'll tell you basically like how to do it. You want to save this right here. This, where's that dang script at? Right here, this Xbox One HD Master -9 zip. You want to save that to your computer, and then you want to extract it to your desktop so that all of these things down here work. But let's go back to the beginning. Where is it? Oh God, it's always hard. I always miss it. Where are you? That's that. And it should be, okay, here it is, right? Okay, so basically we got that. We want to do create Xbox drive.bat. So we'll just copy that, paste it in, we'll hit enter. It says it's basically, you know, running the script. It checks to see if any drive letters are available. Now, I will say, if you have any external drives hooked up besides the Xbox One hard drive you want to basically do this on, please disconnect them before you do this. It just makes it more easier to not accidentally do this to a drive that you don't want this done to. It won't destroy the drive, but it basically gonna take all your data off of it. So If you don't want that to happen, just have this be the only one plugged in. It just kind of makes this a little easier. So basically everything is free. It's basically telling you, hey, any non-free drive letters above may interfere with the script. So they did do a good job of picking drive letters that are normally unused. So we'll just hit any key because we want to continue. You have your select Xbox One drive creation type. I always hit A because I just want to do a fresh install. So we have replace upgrade without a working original drive, which in this case, I'm assuming this drive was corrupted, and I just consider it not a working drive. If you want to try to keep your original drive data, you can do B. That's a different process than what we're doing today. So today we're just going to hit A. So hit A, enter. It'll scan for any drives that's connected to the computer. You can see these are the 3 drives again that we brought up in this part when we cleaned this drive. We want to go back to disk 2 because you see it has the 465, which basically says, hey, that's the Xbox One. So you want to target the disk drive. You want to just type in 2 or whatever drive your Xbox One is. So it says that. It says, hey, warning, this will erase everything on the disk. We want to continue. Basically continue. You want to hit Y for yes. It says this too will be formatted as an Xbox One drive. Select partition layout. This is a 500 gig hard drive, so you want to do 500 gigs. Now, if you want to put in a bigger drive, like a 1 terabit or a 2 terabit, then you would hit B for 1 terabit or C for 2 terabit. At this time, you can't go higher than 2 terabits because the console just doesn't support it. So just keep that in mind. In this case, we want to do A for a 500 gig. And then it just starts going. So once you hit A and hit enter, it starts creating all 5 partitions. It's labeling them. It's doing everything it needs to do. Usually takes maybe like 20-30 seconds for the script to run. And after it runs, I mean, you pretty much can just go ahead and close it. You safely eject the hardware. After that, you can put it back in the Xbox One, and then we will load it up with the latest and greatest OSU1. I'll put a link to this in the description as well. You basically want to load that onto a USB drive that's at least, I believe it has to be at least 16 gigs. And you can see all of them pop back up, but they're all empty this time. So we just exit them all down, and it's done. So the script ran for 173 seconds. And we don't need that anymore, so we will just exit out. We'll go down here. We will safely remove our hard drive. And now it is safe to remove it. So we'll just unplug it. Boom. And we have our hard drive back. And we'll go back over to the Xbox One and put it in, install it, and then bring it up on the troubleshooting menu so that we can install the latest and greatest firmware. Now, like I said, I'll put the link to this in the description. You'll have to put that on a firmware drive, on a USB flash drive, and I'll show you, plugging it back into the console and loading it to the new drive. But let's head back over. All right, so we have everything back together. We have our hard drive back inside the Xbox One that we just finished formatting using the Xbox script. So what we want to do is we want to put this into safe mode or troubleshooting mode in order to first reset it and then load up the firmware, the latest and greatest firmware we have on here that we got from the Xbox site. You have to do the reset first before you try to install the firmware. For whatever reason, it just makes it work like all the time. So just make sure you do that first, reset, then install. So in order to do that, we want to hold the sync button, the eject button, keep those both held at the same time, hit the power button, release the power button, keep those 2 held until you hear the second beep, and then you can let them go and you should go into troubleshoot mode. So now this is kind of difficult to do just because the sync button's all the way on the corner, the eject button's here. So depending on your hand size and things like that, just try to figure out the best way you can to make this work. It's really no specific way to do it, but we're going to go ahead and see if we can get this to go. Okay, so keep it held down to the second beep. There it is. So you see we actually got into troubleshoot mode. You want to go down to reset this Xbox to restore it to factory defaults. You'll see that the offline system update is still grayed out because we haven't put this in yet. So first thing we want to do is reset the Xbox. Go down to remove everything. And you might actually get an error code after you try doing this. So don't be alarmed if you get the error code. That happens a lot. And then right after that, that's when we're actually going to plug this in into the back of the Xbox. You'll see like 2 USB spots back there. Just plug it into one. And then that offline update should light up. And then you go to it and install the actual update. So we're just going to wait for it to try to do its thing. Again, nothing really should happen here. We should get an actual error code. All right, so you see it's actually trying to reset it, but as I said, it didn't get far, and we have the E106 error. Sorry, I'm watching my kid. He's asleep right now, so at the same time, I'm trying to make sure he's okay. If you wonder why I keep looking off. But like I said, we got the E106 error. That's fine. It's kind of really what we were looking to get. We'll go back into troubleshoot, and now we'll take our flash drive and we'll stick it in the back here. Got that. And now you see our offline system update has lit up. So we'll just go ahead and select that. And we'll let it start preparing. And as you see, it took, and it's actually going to update. So you don't have to actually have it connected to the internet or anything to do this, which is great. That's one of the best parts about this. So right now, you literally just wait for it to update. Has 3 steps. You can see it'll reset maybe once or twice during this whole process. So we'll wait for it to finish there, and then it should go straight into the beginning phase of where it like just tells you to hit the controller button and initialize the actual Xbox One. So we'll let this do its thing, and then we'll hop back in right when it gets to that point. All right, so we finally made it. We're at the beginning of the initialization screen. So we're basically try to start it up real quick. We're not actually going to, let me see, we're going to skip this part. Okay, so I skipped the part where I had to plug in my internet, but other than that, that's pretty much all you need to do. You don't actually have to make an account in order to start these things up. I'll show you a little trick to get past that. All right, so see here, they want you to sign in with a Microsoft account. Obviously, since I'll just be testing these things, I don't want to have a Microsoft account just to test Xboxes. So I was able to figure out a little thing to get around this part. So we'll wait for it to pop up. All right, so when you get here, normally I usually try to just back out with B, but you'll notice like it doesn't let you back out. But if you go to forgot your account, and it'll tell you recover it, then you could just back out of here. Now when you go back, you can actually just back out. So if you don't want to like do this, like say if you're just wanting to test it, you don't actually have to make one of those. I don't know, like I just stumbled across that, but it comes in pretty handy. So then you go here, it just tells you basically you can sign in from home when you actually get into the console. You want to uncheck all these because you don't want any of these to install. It really doesn't matter, but I just always put the right time. Did I pass it? Yeah, I did. None of that stuff really matters. You can pick whatever time zone you want. All right, so then we just do skip sign in. We don't even want to make a profile name. And here, well, we have a perfectly good working Xbox as far as I know so far, because I haven't had a chance to actually test the disk drive because we actually just got it to boot into the actual, into the software or to the home screen, whatever you want to call it. So we'll grab one of these test discs I keep over here. I know you might look and say, oh my God, you don't have cases on those. Well, that's because it's games like Madden 15. So that's why those games don't have cases. They're just there literally just for this. So we'll see if it reads. I'm pretty sure it's going to read because usually when these things have these software issues or firmware issues, that's the only thing wrong with the console. As you see, apparently Colin Kaepernick is there back in 2015. But yeah, so installation started. Everything's fine. We take it back out because we actually don't want it to get past that part. So that way it'll just like take it away like it never put the disc in there before. But yeah, check your disc. I know it's because I pulled it out. But yeah, that's it. So everything's good. We have a perfectly good working Xbox. Hopefully if you guys are having the same issue with the firmware stuff and you have a black screen, it won't even boot up, kind of like this one did, where it didn't show anything on the screen and it would just turn off after about 30 seconds. Hopefully this helps. This also works for just any other error, like if you're getting an E101 or E106 error when you try to power up, fixes that as well. So pretty much like almost, I would say 99%. I don't like to say 100% of anything, but 99% of the times you follow those steps, it always works. Like I said, hopefully this helps you guys out, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.